Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are jumping right into the State of the Nation address, the SONA, delivered by President-Advocate Duma Gideon Boko.
This was on November 10th, 2025. It marked the start of the second session of the 13th Parliament in Botswana.
And our mission here is, well, crystal clear. We're doing a deep dive into the strategy they're calling the steady path.
Exactly. We're looking at the first year's deliveries and the long-term roadmap. But, and this is crucial, we have to see all of this through the lens of the intense economic strain the country is under right now.
And that economic strain is really the aha moment, isn't it? It's right there at the top. The source material is just brutally honest about mining.
Especially diamonds.
Yeah. The president said, and this is a quote, "The goose that lays the golden egg is in a critical condition."
That's not a challenge, that's a crisis. And that framing, it really sets the tone for everything else.
How so?
It means their approach to governance has to be incremental. It can't be this grand sweeping plan. It's more about building a new foundation while the old one is, crumbling.
Laying bricks every hour.
That's the quote they use from John Haywood. Rome was not built in a day, but they were laying the bricks every hour. It's about transformation under fire.
Okay, so let's look at those first bricks. The fiscus is described as ailing, yet the first thing we see is this huge push in social spending.
They moved very decisively to fulfill immediate campaign promises. Take household expenses, for instance.
What were the numbers there?
A 30% reduction in water tariffs, straight away. And on top of that, a 50% amnesty on outstanding household water bills.
That's immediate relief in people's pockets. But the spending on vulnerable groups, that's where the numbers get really staggering.
They certainly are. The old age pension saw a 68% increase. It went from P830 to P1400.
And the goal is even higher, right?
Right. The ultimate goal is P8800. But that jump is a landmark commitment, especially for a treasury that's so strained.
But the number that really jumps off the page, for me at least, is in education. Why such a massive focus on the vocational students?
Because they identified that segment, the TVET students, as the absolute hardest hit, their allowance saw a it's a staggering 533% increase.
533%.
Yes. From P300 up to P1,900, it's a shock and awe kind of delivery, really aimed at securing that future skills base.
That doesn't sound like cautious spending. It sounds like a deliberate choice. Social contract over, immediate fiscal conservatism.
And that's precisely the choice. What's fascinating is how they defend it. They're not apologetic. They argue the money is going directly to those who need it most.
The elderly, the students.
Exactly. And low-wage workers. They're leaning hard into that core national value of both, though, that idea of shared humanity, collective responsibility. They're basically saying social welfare is the priority, even when the bank account is low.
That idea in both those seems to connect to the governance reforms, too. They talked about a constitutional amendment bill.
Yes, it's been gazetted. The aim is to establish a constitutional court. This is a big structural change that's supposed to happen before the nationwide constitutional review.
Which starts next year, 2026.
Correct. And on the cultural side, you see steps to uphold dignity, too. They've introduced different languages to the national news broadcasts.
Chikalagari Ikalanga.
Shie and Naro. It's about recognizing the country's diversity at a really core institutional level.
And one last thing on immediate relief for small businesses. The Chima Chima program.
Ah, yes. They converted it from a loan program into a grant for existing recipients.
Which means what exactly?
It explicitly freed all those small entrepreneurs from debt. That's like a shot of pure oxygen, allowing them to actually invest and grow instead of just servicing a loan.
But oxygen won't fix a failing lung.
Agreed. And that's the pivot?
Exactly. So we've seen the short-term medicine for the people, now for the economic surgery. If diamonds are failing, where is the real long-term money going to come from?
The roadmap for that is anchored on two big blueprints, the 12th National Development Plan, or NDP 12.
And the Botswana Economic Transformation Program, the BETP.
Correct. The big overarching goal is high-income status, P200,000 per capita income by 2036.
And the jobs goal is, well, it's enormous. They're aiming for 512,000 jobs by 2036. Mostly for young people.
It's a massive target. And the obstacles are structural. You have skills gaps, infrastructure deficits.
So where do you even start?
You start by squeezing every last drop out of your existing assets. So back to diamonds for a second. The new De Beers agreement is key.
How so?
The Okavango Diamond Company, ODC, gets to access a bigger share of Botswana's diamonds. It starts at 30% and eventually goes up to 50%.
And then there's the really strategic move, the potential acquisition of Anglo-Americans' shares in De Beers.
Yes, the goal there is to get a majority stake to drive more diversification through beneficiation.
Which just means doing more with the diamonds locally, right? Cutting,
Yeah.
polishing.
Exactly, capturing value further up the chain, not just exporting the raw stones.
But the address was clear that it's not just about diamonds anymore. They talked about an emerging triad of opportunity.
Right. New minerals, uranium from the Letlhakane project, manganese for EV batteries from the Cahill project, and iron ore from the Ngamiland project.
And to support that, you need domestic supply chains.
You do, which is why they've committed $1.4 billion to build an integrated plant for critical mining chemicals in Palapai. It's about building the inputs for that green energy supply chain right there on their own soil.
Okay, let's shift to agriculture, another huge goal there. Raising its contribution to GDP from, what, 2%?
From 2% to at least 6%, and livestock is central to that.
The plan is to increase the national cattle herd from about 1.7 million to 5 million by 2030. That seems ambitious.
It is, especially when you look at the offtake rate. That's the percentage of the herd that's harvested each year. It's only 6% right now.
I mean, it should be.
The recommended rate is 15%, so they have a huge efficiency problem to solve first.
And the food security push is intense elsewhere, too. Dairy, for instance.
Yes, the goal is to boost local milk production from just 13% of national demand to over 60% by next year. They're even importing, I think, 1,000 Gerolando cattle from Brazil to help with that.
And I saw a policy shift to enable some new industries, which shows some real agility.
You mean the industrial hemp and medicinal cannabis? Yes. A pilot cultivation is starting this December. That's a significant move to find new revenue streams outside the traditional markets.
This all raises a huge question, though. All these big plans, the jobs, the mines, the farms. How do you make sure the infrastructure can actually support it all?
Energy security. That is the absolute foundation. Right now, local generation only meets about 65 to 70% of peak demand.
So there's a deficit.
A significant one. The response is huge, developing 900 megawatts of solar PV power and 600 megawatts of thermal power at Mamabula. The end goal isn't just self-sufficiency, it's genuine export capacity.
And they're moving fast on renewables. Over 100 megawatts of solar are coming online by this December.
Plus, they're trying to monetize that clean energy. They've applied to the iTrack Foundation to issue International Renewable Energy Certificates, or IRECs. That's a way to tap into global green revenue.
Now, on the human side of the equation, the youth unemployment challenge, it's at 38%.
A huge challenge. So they've established the Presidential Youth Empowerment Campaign, the PYS, and they're bringing in partners like UNICEF.
And there's an immediate win there, right, with CCI Global.
A big one. It's a major BPO company. They started operations in October and are targeting 3,000 jobs within 3 years. That's a tangible result you can point to.
We also have to talk about the financial architecture. This seems like a radical shift.
It is. The Sovereign Wealth Fund, the BSWF, is now established and operational. This is so critical. It's not just a savings account. It's a tool to enforce fiscal discipline and make sure any future mineral money is used for strategic diversification.
And they're building a new trading platform, the Botswana Mercantile Exchange.
The BMX. It should be operational by March 2026. The idea is to position Botswana as a regional hub for trading. Well, everything.
Not just diamonds.
Not just diamonds.
Yeah.
Soft commodities like beef and sorghum, hard commodities like gold. It's about institutionalizing that trading capability.
And finally, there's the potentially controversial initiative, the Impact Citizenship Program.
Meant to attract global investors and innovators. The source is clear, though. This will require amending the Citizenship Act and, importantly, very strict due diligence to prevent abuse.
Let's shift now to what might be the most human aspect of all these reforms, governance and social systems. And we have to start with the healthcare crisis.
We must. A state of public health emergency was officially declared on August 25th. The president called it a catastrophic collapse of the medical supply chain.
For a listener, that means hospitals literally running out of basic medicines.
Yes, a terrifying situation. The response has been massive. Over 300 tons of medical supplies have been procured or donated.
And where does availability stand now?
It's improving. Critical medicines are at 36% availability, and essential medicines are at 63%. But the key is the systemic reform. They're restructuring the central medical stores.
And changing how they get equipment.
Exactly. They're moving to an equipment placement model for things like lab services and radiology.
So the government doesn't buy the multi-million-dollar MRI machine anymore.
Right. They just pay for the tests. The supplier is responsible for making sure the machine works. It dramatically reduces the risk and the downtime.
On governance, there's an ongoing forensic audit on government spending over the last 10 years.
Scheduled for completion in March 2026, and they're promising to act on the findings. In parallel, they're reviewing the Anti-Corruption Act to give the directorate more independence.
To delink it from the mainstream public service.
That structural independence is foundational for any real anti-corruption effort.
We should also mention Botswana's global role in conservation. The source proudly notes they're ranked #1 globally for megafauna conservation.
Hosting the world's largest African elephant population, but that success creates conflict.
Human-wildlife conflict.
Right, so they've launched a new strategy for that and a new anti-poaching strategy that specifically empowers officers to combat these, militarized syndicates.
And finally, a real culture shift, a national cleanup day every month.
And the decision to ban single-use plastic bags. These are visible, tangible actions.
So if we connect all these dots, what's the big picture?
The source shows a nation attempting a truly dramatic pivot. On one hand, they're addressing immediate social needs, pensions, allowances. On the other, they're laying these massive structural bricks for the future.
The sovereign wealth fund, the mercantile exchange, the energy projects.
All of it.
So the transition is from relying on mineral wealth to relying on what? Systems, skills, and partnership.
That's it, exactly. And the focus for the next year, as the president said, is measuring progress not by intentions, but by outcomes.
The address closed with a powerful appeal to unity, quoting Kwame Nkrumah. The forces that unite us are intrinsic and greater than the superimposed influences that keep us apart.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. Given this severe economic strain and all these profound disruptive changes, they touch everything from your water bill to your retirement, how vital is that national sense of Botho to actually getting through this? What does real national unity even look like when you're facing burdens this big?
That is the critical question as the nation continues down this steady path. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.